Welcome to the Highfield Academy training video. I'm Laura and this video is for Functional Skills English Level 1. This video contains information and guidance on types and purposes of texts at Level 1. So today we are going to be looking at the assessment criteria, recognised vocabulary typically associated with specific types and purposes of text, for example, formal, informal, instructional, descriptive, explanatory and persuasive. Now let's look at what that actually means. So when we talk about purposes of text, we mean the reason why the text has been written. What is it designed to do? Now there are four main purposes of text that we focus on in Functional Skills English at Level 1. These are instructional, descriptive, explanatory and persuasive. Now we'll look at each of these in a bit more detail over the next few slides. Okay, so looking at instructional texts then, these are literally texts that give you instructions or tell you how to do something. Now they usually come in the form of leaflets, recipes, manuals, articles, emails and letters among others. Now to be able to know whether a text is instructional or not, there are some clues you can look for, and these are imperative verbs. Now you may have heard of these described as bossy verbs. Now they are essentially words that tell you to do something. So let's look at some examples. Mix the flour and egg. Enter the garden via the rear gate. Don't mention this to anyone. And stop. So moving on to descriptive text then, these are usually describing something. So it could be a place, a person, an event or a memory. Now they usually come in the form of travel or restaurant reviews, articles, stories or recounts of personal events. Now a descriptive text will usually contain a lot of adjectives and adverbs, so be careful to look out for these. For instance, the lusciously green landscape, the rich, luxurious buffet, the house was large and very comfortable. Now, explanatory texts are literally texts that explain something or give information to the reader. Now, they usually come in the form of letters, emails, articles and leaflets. Now, when a text is explanatory, you'll find a high level of detail and technical vocabulary included. They don't tend to have opinion and are more often based on fact. So some examples are: you don't have to worry about tuition fees, sealable containers were placed in the store, the coastline is depleting at a rapid rate. And finally, persuasive texts. Now, these are texts that persuade you to do something or see a particular point of view or opinion. Now, they usually come in the form of adverts, leaflets, letters, emails and articles. Now, persuasive text will contain a number of textual devices that will encourage or persuade the reader. So let's look at a couple of examples. Now, you are going to love this new phone. Here we can see some emotive language. I think your service has been diabolical. Here we can see opinion. How would it make you feel? Here we can see a rhetorical question. And bye. Here we've got a rule of three and repetition. These are all language features that you may see in a persuasive text. Okay, so now it's over to you. Look at this text message received from a company. It says, "Thank you for placing your order with us. Your order has been dispatched and delivery will take place within 5 working days. You will receive a text with a more detailed delivery time shortly. To unsubscribe from updates, text stop to 12345. Now try to identify the purpose of this text. Is it instructional, descriptive, explanatory or persuasive? You can pause the video now if you need to before I reveal the answer. So we can see that this text is explanatory. It gives us information about the status of the order and more information about when to expect it. Now, look at this poster on the side of a leisure centre swimming pool. We've got pool rules: don't run, don't dive, don't shout, don't push. Please obey these important rules for your safety and the safety of those around you. Now try to identify the purpose of this text. Is it instructional, descriptive, explanatory, or persuasive? And again, you can pause the video now if you need to before I reveal the answer. Okay, so we can see this text is instructional. It's telling us what not to do. Okay, now this is a review of a hotel on an internet forum. It says, we really enjoyed our time at this hotel. The pool is large and very clean, and the daily breakfast buffet was delicious. The hotel is based right near a fantastic beach with access to some great water sport activities. I really liked the decor of the hotel. It was bright, colourful, and very inviting. Now try to identify the purpose of this text. Is it instructional, descriptive, explanatory, or persuasive? And again, you can pause the video now if you need to before I reveal the answer. So of course we can see that this text is descriptive, as we can see that the writer has used lots of adjectives and adverbs to describe their experience in the hotel and what it looks like. And finally, take a look at this advert for a mobile phone. The new HFX60 with the fastest processor yet is everything you need this Valentine's Day. Head down to your nearest phone shop now for the latest tech. Now try to identify the purpose of this text. Is it instructional, descriptive, explanatory, or persuasive? Again, you can pause the video if you need to before I reveal the answer. So we can see this text is very persuasive, as it is exaggerating in several places by using words like new and now, but also by directly addressing the reader. It makes the advert seem more personal, as if it's tailored to them. So when we think about types of text then, we can say that a text is formal or informal. Now it does depend on the scenario and the audience as to whether you would use formal or informal language. You must be careful when using either formal or informal language, as it must be consistent throughout. You'll notice in your reading exam that the texts do not switch from formal to informal. They remain the same throughout. So let's look at formal and informal language in a bit more detail. Now, formal language is the type of language that might be considered as standard English. That is, it doesn't include slang words or phrases from a particular region or area, and texts are less likely to use humour. Now, you might find formal language in the following situations: when writing job applications, when in the workplace, when writing complaints, when in contact with the local council, or for business transactions. And remember, there are no slang words or phrases. So, let's look at some examples of formal language in a text. So, I am writing to complain about the planned works to our local area. I am furious that this has been approved as a project. Notice that it begins with I am and not I'm. Shortening words is seen as informal and should be avoided in a formal text. Now, the writer has used the word furious to describe the way they feel. This is a good way of keeping the language formal while still expressing their anger without swearing or using language that could be deemed inappropriate. Dear Sarah, further to our meeting, I would like to confirm the arrangements for the forthcoming team training session. Now, this text includes a formal greeting or salutation with Dear Sarah, and words like confirm and forthcoming are commonly seen in formal emails. I would like to apply for the position of administrative assistant as advertised on your company's website. Now again, in this example, the text begins with I would instead of I'd, and the language is formal as it uses position of instead of job, which can be slightly more informal. So informal language tends to be non-standard English. The text will include shortened words or words and phrases that might be typical of a particular region or dialect, or even slang. Now you might find informal language in the following situations: when writing a letter to a friend, when leaving a memo, when writing a short email to a friend or colleague, when writing an article or leaflet for a younger audience. And remember, slang words or phrases can be used in these situations. Now let's look at some examples of informal language that might be found in texts. Hi Karen, cheers for the help earlier, much appreciated. So it's clear from this example that the writer is very friendly with Karen from the informal greeting of hi, as well as the lack of full sentences in much appreciated. Instead of it was greatly appreciated. Furthermore, the use of cheers instead of thank you makes the text much more informal. Let's look at another example. Dear Nana, we're having a wicked time here. Don't worry about us. We'll see you when we get home. Now, again, we can see that this is informal, as there is evidence of familiarity when the writer uses the term Nana instead of grandmother. Also, using words like wicked to describe the time they're having is very informal and wouldn't be used in a formal letter. And finally, you guys are going to love the new improvements to the school canteen. Who doesn't love a cheeky hot dog? So you guys is a very familiar, friendly way of addressing the audience, and the addition of the rhetorical question, who doesn't love a cheeky hot dog, is an informal way of adding humour and familiarity to a text. So here are some of the common differences then that you might see between vocabulary when you see formal and informal texts. So words like ask can become enquire to make them formal. Talk it through, which might be informal, could be negotiate. See you later, again informal, can be changed to yours sincerely to make it more formal. Don't, we can say becomes do not. And thanks, thank you, to make it formal. Need can become require, again to make it formal. So now it's over to you. Here's an email in response to a job advert for a bar person. It's from dantheman@email.org, and it says, hi there, heard about your job offer from a friend. I'd find it dead easy and I know I'd absolutely boss it. I've done bar work before and I'm well good with making cocktails and doing the money stuff. When you're ready, give me a ring on and I'll pop in. Cheers, Dan. Now let's look at some questions that we might see about a text like this. So here are two questions similar to what you might expect to see in an exam. Find an example of informal language from the text, and how do you know it is informal? So you can pause or rewind the video to view the text again and give you more time to answer these questions. So here are some answers that you could have written down, but there may be other examples that you could have used too. So find an example of informal language from the text. I'd find it dead easy and I know I'd absolutely boss it. Now, how do we know it's informal? The word I'd is a shortened version of I would, or you could have said dead easy is not formal English and is not appropriate for a job application. Or even absolutely boss it is not appropriate and improper language. Now, I've added more than enough detail here. Remember to check how many marks the question is worth in the exam, as it may only require you to note down one of these things. Okay, so let's try another. Here's an email applying for the same job as the previous applicant. It's from danieljones1@email.org. Dear Sir or Madam, I am contacting you to express my interest in the role of bar person in your establishment. I have a wealth of experience in several bars where I have been responsible for handling money and opening and closing the establishment. I have also recently completed a mixology course where I have learnt how to make a variety of cocktails, all of which I would be happy to demonstrate at interview. I've also worked in a restaurant where I was responsible for the general hygiene and cleanliness of not only the bar, but of the toilets, booths and lobby area. Please contact me on where I'll be happy to discuss my interest in the role further. I look forward to hearing from you. Kind regards, Daniel. So again, here are two questions similar to what you might expect to see in an exam. Find an example of formal language from the text, and how do you know it's formal? So again, you can pause or rewind the video here to view the text again and give you more time to answer these questions. Now, as before, you may have selected a different quote to the answer in this question, but here's the one that I went with. So find an example of formal language from the text, I am contacting you to express my interest in the role of bar person. How do you know it's formal? Well, I am is used instead of I'm, no words are shortened. The verb contacting is more formal than emailing or talking to. And express my interest is much more appropriate to use here. Now again, I've included more than enough information, so you may only need to provide one of these reasons in the exam as to why language is formal. So make sure you read the question carefully. Okay, so let's recap what we've talked about in this video. Purposes of text include instructive, descriptive, explanatory and persuasive texts. Text can be formal or informal. So remember, you can check out our other functional skills videos to support you in your exams, which are all available from our website, as well as downloadable workbooks so that you can practice your skills further. That's all from me. Thank you for watching.